Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of you for being here to talk about this important topic. Obviously, we want to make sure that all of our workers are safe and don't get injured or, even worse, get killed. I have a couple questions. I'm going to start with Mr. Sell. The argument in favor of compliance assistance programs is that it reduces costs by seeking to prevent injuries and accidents, as opposed to dealing with them afterwards. But there may also be additional cost savings as well, and that's where how can we do things cheaper? How do OSHA's compliance assistance programs reduce the compliance burden for employers?
That is a great question. Thank you for that. So the compliance assistance specialist acting in a non-enforcement capacity can actually work with every employer. It really benefits small employers that don't have those types of resources, but every employer is entitled to that service. So whether it's program development, risk assessment, or just trying to figure out what's the best way to protect your employees from a particular risk, that's where they come into play. That's where they have the expertise. Where they save money, quite frankly, to a business is the output of that. So if they're helping the employer on the front end, then there's no risk or there's reduced risk on the back end. You also see that come through, at least in my opinion, you have a greater reduction to capacity of your workers' comp insurance, which is based on hours worked. Your general liability goes down, so the company becomes better financially because that compliance assistance specialist, in fact, is saving them money. They also, if they're working in that partnership, and this is an indirect output, employers want employees to work for them, and employees, especially America's workers, want to work for employers of choice. They want to go somewhere where they're protected and treated well, and a compliance assistance specialist helps that because they see them there and they know the employer cares.
Okay, well, thank you for that. My next question is for Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, your written testimony expresses support for H.R. 2844, the Michael Enzi Voluntary Protection Program Act. This bill would require OSHA to dedicate 5% of its annual budget to funding the VPP. A version of this bill has been introduced in previous Congresses long before I got here. So that's why I want to know, what were past concerns with this legislation, and how does H.R. 2844 address those concerns?
Thank you for the question. I'll touch on a couple potential issues that may have been stumbling blocks in previous sessions. The first and foremost is that some of the language from a funding standpoint in previous versions of the legislation would have been considered open-ended. I think there was some concern from both parties that it was a blank check and carte blanche for the Secretary of Labor, whoever that may be at any given time, to fund as much or as little for VPP and compliance assistance. I believe that 5% rider addresses that. Whether OSHA's budget is $500 million or $50 million, it would still be 5% of that amount. The second would be, I think in looking from the standpoint of, we talked of that budget number, I think there's also been a misconception that the program is pro one party or the other, or pro-labor or pro non-labor, non-union. I think this legislation in the past has suffered from that misconception that one side or the other supports it. It's a bill for everyone. It's a bill that's had bipartisan support in previous sessions, including this one. It's a simple piece of legislation. It aims to make a program that has been so successful in reducing workplace injury and illnesses and engaging employees in workplace safety and health. It simply makes it permanent. I think there's been a little bit of a misconception from the standpoint of one side or the other is going to get a victory here. No, this is a victory for all of American workers.
Thank you. Thank you for all for being here, and that answers my questions. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.